standing with your feet hip distance apart. And we're going to go straight into a little roll down. I want you to soften the knees. So just grow tall through your spine first. Lengthen up through the crown of your head. Engage the abdominal muscles just a little bit. Take a deep breath in. Fill up the lungs. And as you breathe out, you're going to tuck that chin in. Roll the shoulders forward. And just gently going through your spine, one vertebra at a time if you can. Hang your arms heavy down below you. So feel like someone's pulling those arms out of your sockets. And then in your bottom of your roll down position, I want you to keep the tummy a little bit engaged. Keep your hips still if you can, and try and just swing the shoulders around to the right side. It's a fairly small movement. You might only go sort of 30 degrees or so around to the right, and then come back to the center, and then going around to the left. You're pushing back into the hip that's left behind. So if you're going around to the right, you can come through the center, go around to the right. Push the left hip backwards just a little bit. And you'll feel a nice stretch down the side of the lower back. And then going around to the left for the last time, push the right hip backwards just a little bit. Coming back to the center, and then pull the tummy a little bit tight and roll yourself back up. So restacking the spine, growing tall through the spine. And just lengthen up through the crown of your head. You're going to take your feet wide, so to the outside of the edge of your mat. Turn the toes out just a little bit, so you want them to be pointing away from you. You're going to soften the knees again, so just have them not quite locked. When you lock them in that position, they tend to hyperextend a little bit backwards. So soften the knees a fraction. Grow tall through the spine again, and let's go into a little roll down. So tuck the chin in. As you're breathing out, you peel yourself down towards the floor. Hang the arms heavy. Keep the knees in line with the toes. So be aware that they might want to roll forwards and inwards now. And roll all the way down to the bottom of this new roll down position. So you might well find you can go a little bit further. Hold it there for just a few seconds, and then see if you can swivel around to the right. Keep your weight back on that left foot. So it's a different way of anchoring the pelvis. And then coming back through the center. Keep the weight down on the right side as you go to the left. So you almost feel like you're pushing into the heel a little bit on the right side. And then coming around to the right again. So swiveling the arms around. Try and stay soft in the shoulders and the neck. And then coming through the center and around to the left. Pushing into that right foot. So you keep your weight evenly balanced over both of your feet. And then coming back to the center, hang there just for a brief moment. Taking a breath in, engage those tummy muscles, and then start restacking the spine. You'll feel your hamstrings have to work quite hard to pull yourself back up, but start restacking the spine one vertebra at a time. Body comes up tall. And take a deep breath in. Grow tall through the crown of your head. Walk your feet closer together. Doesn't matter too much how you get there. I want you to take both of your hands and interlace them behind your back. You can turn your palms to face outwards. You want to turn your palms facing the wall behind you. Again, growing tall through your spine. So if this doesn't feel great in the shoulders, then you could hold like a towel or something between your hands just to open up the hands a little bit. I want you to relax into the shoulders and the elbows as much as you can. Tuck the chin in and roll those shoulders forward. So you're rounding your upper back. You're not going into a roll down. Your pelvis stays neutral. Your knees stay soft. You round forwards a little bit. And then you're going to uncurl your upper spine, lift your chest, squeeze your shoulder blades together and straighten your arms so that your hands go down your bottom, and pull your hands away from your bum just a little bit so that you can squeeze those shoulder blades together, lift your chest to the ceiling, and then you're going to let your hands slide back up to your lower back and round your shoulders forward. You're going into a thoracic mobilization, so you're now stretching your arms down your bum, shoulder blades together, lift the chest to the ceiling, hands away from the bum a little bit if you can so that you can engage those triceps a little bit. And then let the hands slide back up and you roll the shoulders forward. So kind of doing whatever feels okay in the shoulders, but you want to try and get as much movement into the upper back and the stretch into the chest as you lift. And you're just moving through the spine. So you're
Pelvis is still staying neutral. Your knees are not locked. Lifting up, going at your own pace. Try not to arch into the lower back too much as you lift your chest towards the ceiling. Last one, lifting the chest. And then you can release the hands and come back to a neutral position. Take the shoulders up to your ears, so just into a little shrug. Roll the shoulders back and together, so opening up the chest. There we go. And you're standing to the back end of your mat again. Last little shrug. And we're going to go into another little roll down. This time, as you tuck your chin in, soften your knees, tummy a little bit tight. Stop with your hands in line with your knees. So you're going to place your hands just at the top of your knees, going into a little cat stretch. So first of all, I want you to just check in with the weight distribution of your feet. So you've got that little triangle. So from your bunion inside of the foot to the outside of the edge and to the back of the heel. So check your weight distribution is even over your feet. Then you're going to start uncurling your tailbone. Let your tummy come down just a little bit. Let your chest lift forward. Squeeze the shoulder blades. So grow wide on the collarbones. Lift your gaze a little bit. And then tuck your tailbone under. Lift the belly. Keep your hands on your knees. Rounding into the upper back and tuck your chin in. So looking towards your navel. And then you're going to uncurl the tailbone. Check in with your feet again. You might well find with this one, as you start uncurling your tailbone and lifting your chest, lifting your gaze, you might rock backwards or rock forwards. Just try and keep your weight evenly distributed. And then tucking the tailbone under, lift into the spine, tuck the chin in, and then release the hands away from the knees and roll yourself just a little bit further down. Put the hands on the front of your shins, and you're going to do the same thing. So start uncurling the tailbone. Lift the chest a little bit forwards if you can. Open the collarbones wide. And then tuck the tailbone under. Lifting into the spine. Keep the hands on the shins. Maybe you want to pull on the shins just a little bit. Holding it there. And then uncurl the tailbone. Check in with your weight distribution over the feet again. I definitely notice there's a bit of a shift as we move through that position. And tuck the tailbone under. Last rounding of the spine. Pulling the tummy nice and tight, rounding into the upper back, tuck the chin in, and then release the hands and just lower yourself down a little bit so that your hands can come down to the mat. So if that means you need to bend your knees, that's perfect. Place your hands flat on the mat, walk them out 3 big steps, so not too far, and then level up your wrists under your shoulders. Push back onto your feet so that you can get that length into your downward dog. Length through your arms, length through your spine. Your bum is going up towards the ceiling. Your chest is going towards your feet, if at all possible. You can bend your knees as much as you need to. And then you can push one heel down towards the floor at a time. So shifting your weight over, get a nice stretch into the Achilles tendon. So you just pedal those heels down one at a time. Don't forget to breathe. So you've got to keep the lower tummy engaged, but we don't need to brace and hold our breath. And then you're going to center both of the heels down towards the floor. Try and straighten the knees, maybe just a little bit more. Lengthen through the spine. And then lowering those knees down towards the floor, going into a little hover. So see if you can come into your hover position without having to adjust too much. Pull the tummy nice and tight and find your neutral spine. Breathe. And then pushing the bum back up towards the ceiling, back into your downward dog. Pause there briefly while you find that length into your arms and your back. Bum towards the ceiling, and then start pedaling the heels down one at a time. See how much you can stretch those shoulders out. So try and get the chest through the arms, if that makes sense. So back towards your feet. And then center the weight, push both heels down and lower those knees slowly down towards the floor, but it's a hover. Don't quite rest. Pull the tummy tight. Find your neutral position. Keep that tummy tight. Keep everything quiet and see if you can lift one foot just for about 2 seconds. And then put the foot down and then lift the other foot. Lots of strength going through that quad muscle, and then put the foot down, center your weight, bum back up to the ceiling. This is your last downward dog, I promise. Holding it there, pedaling the heels down, one at a time. Push into the arms. So the shoulders are getting quite a lot of work going through them. Try and keep your neck relaxed. So maybe shake the head just gently, just to see that it's not going tight into the neck muscles. And then center the weight into both heels. Lengthen through the spine. And we're going to come down into your last little hover. So bring those knees down. Push up between the shoulder blades. Find your neutral spine. Tummy tight, and lift one foot if you can. And then change to the other side. Everything else stays quiet. Place the foot down and lower those knees down gently to the mat. Release the feet out the back and sit back into your little rest position to catch your breath. Nicely done. Nice little warm up there. Deep breath into the rib cage. So not holding your breath there. You want to try and expand into the ribs, particularly at the back of your spine. So that's where the majority of your lung capacity is. And then you're going to pull yourself all the way up and sitting down onto your bum with your legs out in front of you. All right. I find that's always quite an effective way to get the blood flowing. All right. Sitting up tall, you're going to hold on to, let's start by holding onto the back of your legs. So just behind your thighs. I want you to pull yourself up onto your bum bone. So sitting up as tall as you can, pulling the tummy just a little bit tight. Then you're going to lean back, but you're leaning back, you're not tucking the tailbone. So you're keeping your spine nice and straight. Lean back to whatever feels comfortable. You're supporting yourself with your hands on your legs. And then we're going to lift one leg up and we're going to lift the other leg up. You're going to need to rock back a little bit. Find that sort of balancing position. You're supported with your hands, so your hips aren't having to work too much just yet, maybe. Maybe they're cramping already. Hold it there. Lengthen through the spine. So try and straighten the back as much as you can. That's good. You're just holding it there. Your legs are at tabletop. And then we're going to see if you can let go of the legs. Just briefly. If you need to hold back on, then hold back on. Otherwise, straighten your arms out. That's amazing. Well done. Keep the back nice and straight if you can. Don't forget to breathe. And then hold on back to the back of your legs. Place one foot down and the other foot down. And just give the hips a bit of a rest. So it's a little bit of a nasty wake-up call for the hip flexors. Straighten the legs out if you need to loosen up the hip flexors. Here we go. And then when you're ready, bend them back in. Okay. You're going to lean yourself back. Straight back. There we go. Keep your back nice and straight. Right, and then lifting one foot, lifting the other foot. So try and take them to tabletop. Pull yourself on your legs to get your back nice and straight. Once your back's nice and straight, you're going to see if you can let go and hold that position. Keeping the tummy nice and tight. Shoulders away from the ears. Fantastic. Hold it there for another breath in and out if you can. And then holding onto the back of the thighs and place the feet back down. Maybe stretch out the legs briefly. Okay, we're going to add on just a little bit. That was looking really good. So I hope it wasn't too challenging. Keep the body up nice and straight. Lean yourself back. Go back into what we would call your, like a modified V sit. So your V is coming from your thigh bone into your back. So your back needs to be a nice straight line of the V. Pull yourself on your legs to get the back as straight as you can. And then let go of the legs. See if you can hold the legs in that position while you take your arms up towards your ears. Ooh, it's going to shaky in the tummy. And then bring it back down. We're going to do two more if we can. Coming up with the arms. And then down. And last one, lift the arms. And down towards the legs. Hold behind the thighs. And gracefully place one foot down and the other foot down and relax there. So it works the tummy muscles nice and hard, and it works the hips quite hard. You can lie back now onto your elbows. So now we're going to take the pressure off the, not that there was pressure on the arms and shoulders, but you're going to see if you can find a comfortable position for your shoulders. Take one leg up to tabletop and then take the other leg up to tabletop. Glue your legs together. You can have your knees fairly bent up towards your chest. Will take a bit of pressure off the tummy muscles. And as you start to challenge, then you stretch the legs out straight. So keep them tucked in for now. You're going to keep your legs together and let your hips roll over to the left side. Dip them down in a semicircle. Come up to the right side and bring them straight across to the center. Then going across to the right, dip them down in a semicircle, come up to the left and back across to the center. Try and push up between the shoulders. So you're trying to keep your shoulders and your neck in a fairly strong position. You're not just sagging between the shoulders. Back to the center. Keep going at your own speed. You're alternating sides. And back up to the center. The movement is coming from your spine. So yes, your hip flexors are working really hard to control the movement, but your spine is rotating. Keep the knees together, drawing that circle with your kneecaps pretty much. That's what's moving. So you don't change the angle of your knees. Good. And back to the center. And you make your circle as small as you need to. We've got one more to go. So your last one goes around to the right and then comes from the left back to the center. And then you can just roll yourself back down onto your back and hug those knees up to the chest. There we go. Nicely done. All right. So strange enough, we were going to do those single leg circles, Julia. So just see if you can modify your range of movement a little bit so that you're not coming across your midline. I want you to stretch the right leg, the left leg out, my apologies. Left leg goes out straight and long on the mat. Your hands come down to your sides of your hips and take them out just a little bit to a low V. Straighten your right leg up to the ceiling, as straight as you can get it, but it's more about your thigh bone going straight up to the ceiling. So get your kneecap shining straight up to the ceiling and then straighten your leg as much as you can. So if it can't go totally straight, that's fine. Don't worry about that. You just go as straight as you can. Then without, I think as a modification, we're going to take the leg down towards the floor and then swoop it around and bring it back up to the center. If it feels comfortable in the hip, then you could take it across the body, swoop it down in an oval, and then bring it back up to the center. And across the body, round and back up. The important thing with this exercise, so keep going, we're going to do 5 or 6 on one side, is to keep the hips as quiet as you can and push into your left heel. So that's your stabilizer. And just do one more on this right leg. Pause for a second, and we're going to go the other way. So take it out to the side. Swing it around and bring it back up. And that swing is still controlled, so it's as fast as you can control it. And this is where I feel that clunk going into my hip, especially as I go out to the side. If it's not painful, then that's fine. But you want to try and stabilize things or modify your speed or your range of movement so that there's no discomfort. Just one more on this one. Bring it back up. Bend that knee and place the foot back down to the mat. So lots of hip flexor work on that one. Bring your left leg up to tabletop. Slide your right leg down flat onto the mat. Push into that right heel. So anchor yourself with that right leg. Straighten your left leg as much as you can towards the ceiling. And if it feels okay in that hip, then take the leg across the body, swoop it down and around and back up. If it doesn't feel okay doing it across the body, then just take it down and then around out to the side. It's totally okay. It's more about the anchor on the right side and this quietness around the pelvis. So as long as you are moving that leg around, the weight of your left leg is creating the requirement to stabilize. And just one more in that direction. Pause briefly at the top. And then taking it out to the side, swoop it round and back up. And again, just modify your range so that there's no discomfort. And just one more, nice big circle, pause there, bend that knee and place the foot back down onto the mat. You can take both of your legs up to your chest. Hold it there. There we go. Just tuck them up as tightly as you can. And then placing your hands back down next to your hips this time, you're going to straighten your legs just to 90 degrees. So back to your tabletop. That's it. So sorry, not straightening. If they were tucked up to your chest, take your legs back to tabletop. Bend the knees to 90 degrees, hips 90 degrees. Hands down by your sides. You're going to pull your lower tummy nice and tight. And again, this is a movement coming from your spine. You're going to glue those knees together. Don't let them slide. Remember, when we move the knees side to side, as you go over to your left, you drive with your right knee. Then I want you to bring those legs down towards the mat, doing your half circle. Bring them up to the right side, and then bring them straight across. And then you're going to go across to the right, drive with that left knee. Bring the knees down towards the wall in front of you, bring them back up to the left, and slide them back in. Try and use your tummy muscles, so your lower tummy muscles control the movement. And then bringing it back, slide it straight across. So you go across straight, slide them around, and then across straight back into the center. We've got one more to each side. So you're going to do one more to the left and then one more to the right. And bring it back in, trying to keep the knees from sliding on one another. Last one round. Slide them back into the center and maybe hug them up briefly to your chest, maybe rocking side to side. So there's a lot of work happening there. Lower tummy muscles and hip flexors just kind of are happening because we're holding our legs at that angle. Right, placing the feet back down onto the mat into our good old pelvic curl. So keep the heels close up to the bum, flatten the back onto the mat, squeeze the bum, roll those hips up nice and high. The first one you can go as high as you like. So even if you do use a little bit of lower back going into your shoulder bridge position, you want to just open up the front of the hips. So feel that hip joint getting a nice stretch from all of that hip flexor work that we've been doing. And then rolling slowly back down, one vertebra at a time down to the mat. Push the lower back into the mat, and then release the pelvis. And let's flatten the lower back again. Squeeze the bum, roll those hips up, lifting all the way up through the gap. Give a nice stretch into the hip flexors, and this time focus more on the bum and the hamstrings. Try not to let the lower back take over. And rolling slowly all the way back down, tucking that pelvis under, push the lower back into the mat, and then release the pelvis out. And let's go one more time. Squeeze the bum as you lift up. At the top there, you're going to pause. I want you to push into the right arm and the left leg, and then float the left arm and the right leg up to the ceiling. And keep your right leg bent, so just a tabletop on the knee. On the right knee. And then you're going to gently place the foot and the hand back down, level up the pelvis, push into the left arm and the right leg, and lift the opposite arm and leg up. Just float them up. Try and see if you can be pulling that left knee out of, so the hip's getting pulled out of the socket a little bit. It'll lift your hip a little bit on the left side. And then place that foot and the arm back down. Squeeze the bum again. We've got one more to go on each side. So push into the right arm, push into the left leg, float the opposite arm and leg up. Pull that right hip up towards the ceiling. Squeezing into that left bum. And then place the arm and the leg back down. Level up the hips, re-squeeze the bum. Push into the left arm, right leg. Lift the opposite arm and leg up. Lift that left knee up towards the ceiling. Don't forget to breathe. And then placing the foot and the arm back down. Roll from the top of your spine, one vertebra at a time. Push that lower back into the mat in particular, so you release the lower back and then release the pelvis. Nicely done. Okay, crossing your left ankle over onto your right thigh. We're going to lift up the right leg and hold behind that thigh. So just going into a little glute stretch while we're here. Sadly, this often indicates the end of a class, hey? Ha ha ha. No such luck. And as you're holding it there, maybe go through your little checklist. So even if, so on this side's not too tight there, but with this, so if you're able to lift the foot off the floor, the right foot off the floor, pull that knee up as tightly as you can. Push with the left elbow on the left thigh and try and lengthen the tailbone away from you just a little bit. And you might well feel that that increases the stretch, and keep going through those 3 points of contact, because each time you concentrate on something else, your body will sneakily go and adjust somewhere else to release that pressure. So you want to be quite aggressive with this hip stretch. In almost any hip condition, aside from like immediately post-operatively, if you've just had a hip replacement, you won't do this. But this is a range of movement that's really important. And then you can place that right foot back down. Keep the legs there. I want you to take your left knee across, keep it across your body, but let your hips roll over to the right side. You're trying to keep your shoulders down. You can maybe stretch your left arm out to the side. Rest your right hand on the outside of your left knee so that you're getting a full rotation of the spine. You might well feel it on the outside of that hip. You might feel it into the lower back. You might feel it just stretching in the chest. But it should be a fairly enjoyable stretch. So if you feel it's more comfortable, then bring the knees together. So let them be kind of supported by that under knee. So your right knee would support your left knee. Otherwise, you can put a bit of traction down onto that left knee with your arm. Nice deep breaths in and out. And then you can give that left knee a bit of a push with your hand and help it to come back to the center. Put the left foot down on the mat, cross the right ankle onto the left thigh. So if this is a position that's particularly tight, then you can use your right hand to push on the right knee without even lifting the left leg and increase your stretch a little bit there. And then you can also lengthen the tailbone away. So if you're not able to lift the left leg up, if your right hip is too tight, then just keep it there, push with that right hand on the right knee, just to force it to go a little bit further, and then do that little tailbone lengthening thing. So it'll do exactly the same thing. Otherwise, you could hold behind the left thigh. Yeah, that's it. So if you can lift the knee up to the chest, then you keep going through those kind of pointers, those 3 points. And also being fairly aggressive with this one. Obviously not to the point of causing pain, but you do want it to be uncomfortable just for the moment. If it's sore afterwards, then it's more of an issue. But in the moment with this particular, it's a very controlled position to be in, so you won't hurt it. Go. And then you can gently place that left foot down onto the mat. Let your hips roll over to the left. Stretch the right arm out to the side. Oh, maybe you'll get a lovely click in the spine. Very nice. And then just rest that left hand on the outside of your right thigh. You can do an extra pull maybe. But again, if it doesn't feel safe enough, then just pop the left knee under the right knee. So match the knees up so that you can support them. It should feel quite nice. And then you can place the hand under that knee, give it a little bit of a push to come back up to the center. Take your feet wide of your mat. So you want your feet to be super wide and your knees are going to be super wide. Hands are out to a low V, and you're going to let your knees roll over side to side. So again, just make a mental note of this one and tell me if it hurts the hips at all. Particularly if you have any kind of issue in the right hip, then you might find that rolling the knees to the left feels a little bit uncomfortable. Just something to notice if it does, and just send me a voice note. And rolling over to the side. So as you roll the knees over, just maybe give a little bit of a squeeze on the glute that you're rolling away from. So when you roll over to the left, you give the right bum a little bit of a squeeze so that you open up the hip every time. But we're moving through, it's a mobilization versus just a static stretch. You're moving through that joint and then rolling back again. And we'll do 1 or 2 more. We did work the hip flexors quite hard in those early few exercises. And then your last one, you can just end on the side that you didn't start on, if you can remember where that was. And then just rolling yourself straight over. I want you to lie onto your right side. Here we go. You're going to lie just nice and comfortably. You can bend your bottom leg. Take your left heel towards your bum. So just grab a hold of that left ankle. Just going into a quad stretch. See if you can keep that left knee from lifting up too high. So you want to keep it low down, your thighs parallel to the floor. And then see if you can move that left knee backwards just a little bit without arching your back. So you want to try and move it behind you a fraction. Just so to get a nice stretch into the quad muscle. We've done quite a lot of hip release now, so that should be fine. But we often neglect the quad muscles, is that we work on training them and strengthening them lots, but then we never really stretch them. And they're fairly integral. All right. Then you can just release that leg there. Take both of the knees together. I want you to push yourself up so that you're on your elbow. All right. I'm going to start with your forearm down on the mat. Your elbow needs to be directly below your shoulder. So get yourself into a fairly strong position. Bottom leg can stay bent for now, and take your top leg out long. I want you just to check that your hips are stacked to the floor. So they are 90 degrees to the floor, and then lifting up into that right oblique. So you're trying to lift away from the mat a little bit. And you'll find as you lift there, your shoulder goes into a better position as well. And then in that position, keep your upper body in that position, lift that leg away from the floor. See if you can hold it there. You can put your top hand on your hip, or you can put it into like a salute position. So that kind of opens the chest quite nicely. Then I want you to flex your foot, bring the leg forwards, and then take it back as you point and take it slightly behind you. There's a fairly good old classic Pilates exercise. You can do the toe pointing and flexing thing if you really want to. It's not as important as keeping the rest of your body fairly quiet. We're just moving through the range. So see how it feels. You're trying to keep your pelvis stable. So as you take your leg back, be careful not to arch your spine so you don't let your ribs flare. And as you come forwards, you only go as far forwards as you can without scooping into the lower back. Good. Back. And just 2 more forwards. Back. Don't forget to lift into that waistline. I felt mine collapsing. Last one. Back. Pause there briefly. And then take that leg all the way down. Nicely done. No aches and pains. Okay, put the knees together. Hopefully the shoulder's feeling okay with that one. If you need anything under the elbow, then pop some padding under the elbow because that often takes strain. So your knees are together. Your heels are in line with your bum. Push up into the shoulder, lift up into the waistline. We're going to just squeeze the knees together and lift up into your little side bend position. Hold it there. Squeeze the knees together, lift into the waistline, push up into the shoulder. So squeeze into your armpit, actually. That's kind of the connection you want for your shoulder. Arm up to the ceiling. Hold it there. And then come slowly all the way back down. Change your position if you need to. So just adjust the elbow to wherever you need to change it. There we go. Lifting into the shoulder, lifting into the waistline, squeeze the knees together, lifting up, arm up to the ceiling, holding it there. Turn the head. If you're struggling with your neck, then you can always turn to look down to your forearm, but keep the other arm up towards the ceiling because that opens your chest. Hold it there. And then come slowly all the way back down. Nice. One more time. Last one. Not too complicated, this one. Lifting up. Squeeze into that armpit. Lift into the waistline. Squeeze the knees together. Turn the head if you need to. I don't know why I'm feeling it in the neck a little bit today, so I'm just going to look down there. Hold it for a few seconds. If you feel like it's available to you, maybe lift that top leg up. Just briefly. Holding it there for about 2 more seconds. And knee back down. And lower yourself all the way down. Nicely done. You're going to just swing your legs around to the other side. lying flat on your arm to start off with, and take that right heel up towards your bum. Bottom knee bent. It's just a nice little break. Those side bends are quite challenging to stabilize, actually. It's just a lot of stability work. So get your thigh bone parallel to the mat. So be careful with this one, is that your knee doesn't flop in. You actually want to have it at in a parallel position to the mat. That's it. And then you're going to take that knee just behind your hips if you can, or backwards just a little bit, without arching your lower back. Lie down flat on your arm there, Dad. And lie flat and relax. Your shoulder's going to battle. There we go. That's it. So just holding it there. Try and relax into that position. Feel the stretch in the front of the thigh, maybe above the knee. So often the knee will feel quite tight in this position. If there's knee pain, then you could put a little towel rolled up behind the knee. It just opens up the knee joint a little bit. Seems counterproductive, but it works. And then you can gently just release that leg and place the knees together, coming up onto your elbow. Okay. Palm's going to be down on the mat. You're going to have your forearm down. Get your elbow directly under your shoulder if you can. Your bottom knee is bent and your top leg you take out long. First, get the right shoulder connection. So get your connection to the armpit and lift that left waistline away from the mat. Taking your hand, top hand onto your hip or into a salute. If you want it in front to stabilize, that's perfect. And then just float that leg up just a tiny bit off the mat. Hold it there for a few seconds. So just check in with your connections, check in with your waistline, with your armpit, and then you're going to flex the foot, bring that leg forwards, point the toes and take it back. And if you want to add the foot choreography, you can. It's really not that important. It's more important that you keep the body still. So as you come forwards, the lower back doesn't tuck and scoop. And as you go backwards, you don't arch the lower back. Try and keep that leg at the same height to the floor the whole way around. Check the armpit connection, check the waistline. Almost done. 2 more. And forwards, good. Back, last one forwards. Last one back, squeeze the bum, and then lower that knee down to the other knee. So your knees can be together, heels in line with your bum. So you've got quite an open position in the hips, elbow directly under your shoulder, squeeze into that armpit again, lift into the waistline, squeeze the knees together, and lift those hips up to the ceiling. And just hold it there. Keep breathing. Check in with your neck. Mine strangely feels better this time, but otherwise look down to that forearm and then gently lower yourself down. So that was your kind of check-in. Move your position if you need to. Add padding to the elbow if you need to. Everyone seems all right. Squeeze into the armpit, lift into the waistline, and lift your hips away from the mat. Lifting that top arm up to the ceiling, and that just anchors your chest in the right position. So if you need to look down to your forearm, and you're still stretching that right arm up towards the ceiling, it means that it will stop you from turning the shoulder down. Squeeze into the armpit and roll yourself slowly back down. We've got 1 more to go. Okay, all surviving. Here we go. Lifting up, squeeze into the armpit, lift into the waistline, knees together, arm up. Look down if you need to. Hold it there. Don't forget to breathe. And then maybe separate those legs. See if that's available to you today. Maybe it's not, that's okay. But the shoulder's really battling on this one today. Hold, hold, hold. 2 more seconds and lower that knee slowly down and relax all the way down. Nicely done. I want you to roll over onto your tummy. Oh, what a nice idea. Okay, so sadly, we're not going to just lie here and meditate for the next 15 minutes. That would be great. I want you to come up onto your elbows. Okay. Oh, I definitely felt that in my shoulder today. All that. Still suffering from my surfing lessons. All right. So, well, it's hard. It's not quite shame. Hey, it's like really suffering in my first world problems. Okay. So your elbows are under your shoulders, and then I want you just to inch them forwards a little bit and out a little bit. So you've got a slightly wider than shoulder position with your elbows. Your hands are not clasped in front of you. They can just be flat and relaxed on your mat. I want you to pull your tummy just a little bit tight. So you're pushing your pelvis into the mat and you're engaging your abdominals so that you don't sag into your lower back. So you don't want to be flopping there with the lower back crunched. Okay, so the bum's a little bit squeezed. We're going to tighten both of your legs. For now, we're not going to float them off the ground. Just one heel comes towards your bum. So you kick the heel towards your bum and then you straighten it out. We're just going to do one kick for now and then kick the other leg towards the bum and straighten it out. And as you're doing this, just go through your checklist because it's very basic with the legs. We're not doing too much, but you're pushing up between your shoulder blades. Your neck is relaxed, so you're looking just in front of your hands. And your bum is squeezed and your abdominals are a little bit engaged. And now what we're going to do is you're going to see if you can straighten both of your legs. So just float your shins up off the mat, doing the same thing. Bend and straighten. One leg at a time still. So you're doing one leg. You're just keeping the legs hovering. It'll be just your knees that can hover. And your tummy's nice and tight. If you're battling with your lower back, then lie yourself down flatter. You can move your hands further away from you, or you can even lie with your forehead down on your forearms. Go, we're just doing one kick at a time for now. You should feel your hamstrings waking up. Almost done. One more on each side, or even yourself out, if you can even remember where you started. There we go. Straighten the legs, hover them, and then lower them slowly back down. I want you to take your head down to the mat, and you're going to take your hands around behind you. Remember how we started with your hands interlaced behind your back, and you've got your chicken wings coming forward. Turn your head to the left side. So you're facing the left. Your elbows are flopped forwards to the mat. Your shoulders are relaxed and rounded. Your hands are in the small of your lower back. Here we go. Right. I want you to tighten your legs. So straighten your legs, lengthen your legs. Squeeze the bum just a little bit. You're going to lift your chest a little bit away from the mat. Float your legs up a fraction. Straighten your arms. Take them down your back. Lift them away from your bum. Turn your head to face the center. So now you're in a full extension. And then bend your elbows. Bring them up your lower back. Lower everything slowly back down. Okay, so it's slightly modified. We're not bending the knees yet. You're going to tighten the legs, lengthen the legs, squeeze the bum. Lift the chest to turn your head to face forward, lengthen your arms down, lift them away from the bum, squeeze the shoulder blades together. It's a million things to say. And then release everything slowly down, looking to your left. So you're changing sides that you're looking towards each time. If this doesn't feel great on the shoulders, then you could hold a towel across your back and just open up the hands a little bit. And lifting up, center everything, and then rounding it slowly back down. Quite an important shoulder mobility exercise, and it's an important extension exercise. You can keep going in your own time. As your hands go down your bum, you want to lift your chest as much as you can, so you get a nice full extension. But you're squeezing your bum a lot. So your bum is doing the lifting of the legs. You're not using your lower back. In fact, you should almost hardly feel your lower back working at all. It should be all upper mid back and bum. Let's see. We're going to do one more where we end facing to the right. Coming down. And then you can just release the hands from beside you. Place your palms down towards the mat. Your arms are straight and just hover your nose on the mat. So put your forehead down onto the mat. Your neck is now long at the back of your neck. You're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together. So lift the front of your shoulders away from the mat. Your forehead stays down as you try and lift your arms. You're squeezing the shoulder blades and you're just lifting your arms away from the mat. Your neck stays relaxed and long, and you don't worry about your lower back at all. Try and turn your thumbs to the ceiling. Oh, it's hard. We're externally rotating those shoulders, and then relax everything slowly back down. Take the hands a little bit wider than your hips, so kind of a lower V again, and you'll feel it's a little bit easier. It just releases the shoulders a bit. Keep your forehead down. Maybe squeeze the bum a little bit just to offload the lower back, and then lift the front of the shoulders away from the mat. Lift the hands away from the mat, and then see if you can just twist the hands to face outwards and your thumbs point upwards. Holding it there. Good. Very nice. Important shoulder movement. And then come slowly all the way back down. We're going to just do one more. Should be a lot of work happening at the back of the arms, maybe across the shoulder blades. Last time, squeeze the bum to anchor the pelvis. Keep your neck relaxed. Lift the front of the shoulders away from the mat. Lift the arms. And then turn those thumbs to point up to the ceiling. Lots of squeeze on the shoulder blades. The shoulders are away from your ears, so your neck stays long. Hold it there. And lowering it slowly back down. Place your hands under your shoulders. Let your elbows pop up. And then push yourself all the way up and back into your resting position. As you come into your resting position, try and round your spine just a little bit. Lift yourself down towards your heels and then stretch those arms forward. Just go slowly into that position because you'll feel how many different muscles it releases. Hold that position with your arms stretched out in front of you. See if you can find a resting place for your forehead. And then maybe it'll feel nice to bend the elbows and place the hands behind the head. Almost like a little reverse prayer kind of position. Stretching out the triceps a bit. Taking nice deep breaths. And you can straighten those arms out in front of you one more time. Keeping your chest down towards the mat. Just walk your hands around to the right side. Shoulders stay level to the mat. So let them twist and lift. Just feel the stretch down the left rib cage and maybe try and direct your breath there just a little bit so that you can expand onto that side. Releasing into your middle back and upper back a bit. So maybe you'll feel it in the lower back on the side, but not too much, I don't think. Coming all the way around to the center and then going off to the left side. Feel that stretch into the right rib cage. Holding it there. Deep breaths into the right lung. Not that you can actually send breath into one or the other lung, but it's kind of in your head. And then coming all the way back to the center. Stretch your arms forward so one more time. 2 deep breaths in and out. And then you can pull yourself all the way back up and sitting onto your bum. There you go. Gosh, it feels like it needs a bit of attention, right? You're going to take the soles of your feet to meet one another. It doesn't matter how close to your pelvis they are, but it's more important with this one is that you can pull yourself to sitting up as tall as possible. So if your feet go further from your pelvis, that's absolutely fine. And your knees don't have to go flat either. You might find that one side sits a little bit higher than the other one. That's also fine. Pull yourself up tall, flat, straight back, and then just tilting yourself forwards. So not rounding the shoulders. Try and keep the back as straight as you can for the first one. Go. Keep the collarbones wide. And then once you've held it there for a breath or two, then you can round the spine. Get a nice deep stretch into the inner thighs. And while you're holding it there, you might well feel quite a nice stretch across the back. And then rolling yourself slowly back up to sitting up straight. Straighten up, lengthen up through the spine, grow tall through the crown of your head. And then you can relax, so straighten your left leg out long in front of you. Take your right foot and place it to the outside of your left knee. That's it. Okay. You're going to hold that knee up and see if you could just pull yourself up nice and tall. So let your knee come up to your chest as much as it can. And again, only if it feels all right to do this one. That's it. So you're pulling the knee up, sitting up tall, and then maybe you feel like you can twist your spine around to the right side. Here we go, that's it. And if it feels okay, then you could hook an elbow around that right knee, push yourself a little bit further. You could use your right hand to give yourself a bit of a shove. Otherwise, right hand can be quite close to your bum, and that's what's pushing you up tall. Yeah. Oh, this wind is amazing. It's like quite an intense Cape storm here. And then come slowly back to the center. Gently uncross the legs. Bending the left knee, place the left foot to the outside of the right leg. Sit yourself up nice and tall. And already there you might feel a bit of a glute stretch. And then maybe you can pull yourself around to that left side. Hook the elbow onto the left knee and push yourself with your left hand up tall as you can. So this one's again a glute stretch as well as a spine twist. So there's a rotation happening there in the spine. Go. And then gently letting yourself come back to the center. You're going to keep your foot where it is actually. Place both of your hands down to the right. And I'm going to be facing the wrong way, but that's okay. Place both of your hands down to the right and just literally swivel yourself around and bring your right leg in. Or however you like to, elegantly or not, bring yourself into a squatting position. There we go. Feet can be slightly apart, so just hip distance apart. And I want to do that little rolling action around the balls of the feet. So rolling the heels in a nice big circle. Keeping the toes in contact with the mat. See how much mobilization you can get across the top of your toes. You're really trying to roll over the toes without causing pain, but just maintaining that mobility, and then change direction with your circles. You've got quite a lot of support into your hands. So it's actually less about your weight going through the toes. It's more about the range of movement. Okay. And one more circle there. And then you can center the heels in line with the toes. Place your hands down flat onto the mat. Push the bum up towards the ceiling and just go into a hamstring stretch. So your knees can be fairly bent. Your chest is folding down towards your thighs. So that's actually more important than getting straight knees. You want to feel the stretch in the belly of the hamstring. Check in with your feet and the weight distribution. Pull the tummy just a little bit tight. Straighten the knees up so you find the bottom of your roll down position. And then on your next breath out, you start rolling back up through the spine, restacking the spine. Keep the tummy engaged. Place the hips back, the ribs back, shoulders back. Head comes back on top of the shoulders and you grow tall through the crown of your head. Take both of your arms out to the side. Take a deep breath in. Let your ribs flare. Connect your fingers to one another, just causing you to pause. And then breathing out. And one more time, breathing in. Pause at the top. Lengthen your spine. And breathing out. And there you have it, everybody. It's quite a nasty hip flexor little starting point.